Hello, everyone. I hope you all are doing great. Welcome to today's Coaching Communities of Practices session on the Art of Prioritization, session 2. On behalf of Agile People Ops, me, Mariana, your host, would like to thank you all for joining us today. This series of calls will redefine the way we learn collaboratively, opening the doors to endless possibilities for personal and professional growth. These sessions take place every second Wednesday of the month. I would now like to introduce our speaker for today's session, Ms. Sona Maria Gulati. She is an ICF, PCC, a coach trainer, a facilitator, certified NLP practitioner, and an image consultant. She has a progressive experience of 15 years, has done more than 600 hours of coaching, and has facilitated programs with over 5,500 individuals. She is passionate about enabling individuals realize their full potential by raising their level of awareness and focusing on their strengths. She conducts bespoke programs, webinars, one-on-one coaching sessions with individuals as well as groups. A very warm welcome to you, Sonam, and to whoever has joined us as the audience. Over to you, Sonam. The stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, Mariana. Hello, everybody. Welcome here for today's call. I can see a lot of you have been regular for the sessions and are already aware about what we've been doing. So again, today's session, it will incorporate reflective exercises. It will require you to get involved, to answer, to come out of your comfort zone and even share, whether you want to unmute yourself or share in the chat box. So I invite you all to participate and to respond, because that's how we learn with each other. So as Mariana's already introduced today's topic, we spoke about prioritization in a different way in the last session, and today it's going to be a completely different approach that we're going to apply here, right? So there are a lot of different approaches and emotions that we all run through on a regular basis. Is that correct? The different feelings and emotions we go through, different phases in probably the same day as well, right? So some of those have been mapped here. One second, I just want to start the slideshow. Give me a moment. Oops. Yes. So even during the same day, so something could be around, feeling angry because of something, or being stuck in a position, or, being sick in the position that you're in, wanting to move out of it, wanting to grow in your career, thinking about how you could utilize your time better. Also, it could be around, personal, in the personal space. It could be about growth. So, what are those emotions that you juggle with on a regular basis, on and off, something that does bother you, that's present for you at the moment, if someone would like to share? You could use the chat box, unmute yourself, anything that comes to your mind. Presently, what is it that you might be going through? Anybody? So, this is a safe space. We're not judging anyone. We all go through emotions on a regular basis. It could be about growth, it could be about stagnation, it could be about feeling of happiness, it could be about feeling grumpy or angry or anxious, of coping up with things.
Hello, my name is Monica. If I
Hello,
could
Monica.
choose from this, I would like to choose how could I to grow further, for example.
All right, thank you for sharing that.
An essential question, I think.
Yes, that answers my question. Definitely. Thank you. So I can see Lucas has also shared that right now I feel stuck. I've been looking for a job on management or team coordination, even sales, but I haven't been called to interviews yet. Thank you so much for sharing that, Lucas. I can imagine it must be something really close to your heart and you're sharing it out here. So, really appreciate that. So, what happens is how we approach things and how we behave also comes from these emotions and the situation that is in front of us, right? So, there's a very interesting concept which you might have heard of before, which is by Stephen Covey. So Stephen Covey says that, it's also one of his 7 habits that he introduced, that, it's important to be proactive as being, he defines proactive as being responsible for our own lives. Our behavior is a function of our decisions, not our conditions. Proactive people focus on issues within their circle of influence. They work on things they can do something about. The nature of their energy in doing this is positive, enlarging and magnifying. They increase their circle of influence. So, the habit 1 is about being proactive. It's about taking responsibility for your life. Proactive people recognize that they are responsible. They don't blame genetics, circumstances, conditions, or conditioning for their behavior. So, if you try to understand this, it could be hard in situations, especially when we're confronted with situations which come to us and there's nothing that we are doing about it. We also become a victim of circumstances at times. Does this happen with us? It's happened with me for sure. That there are those moments when you start feeling that things are not working for me, something's not working in my favor, and I'm not able to achieve it because of this reason.
Yeah, and maybe the big question, what I did wrong.
Sorry?
Maybe the big question in this situation, what I did wrong. What should I change?
What should I change? What did I do wrong? And the circumstances that aren't in our grasp, like Lucas says. So Stephen Covey tries to define that in a different way. He talks about proactive behavior of reactive behavior. Are you taking charge? Or are you being responsive and reactive to situations? Are you able to take control? Or he says reactive people tend to neglect those issues that are under their control and influence. Their focus is elsewhere and their circle of influence shrinks. They focus on the weaknesses of other people, the problems in the environment, and the circumstances over which they have no control. Their focus results in blaming and accusing attitude and increased feeling of victimization. So a lot of times like I mentioned, we feel we're becoming victims of the situations. So the difference that he's trying to iterate here is in the stance that we take. Are we being proactive? Are we able to take charge of things which are in our influence? Or we're trying to capture things which are not in our influence, neglecting things which we can influence. And then that part which we can influence starts shrinking. Does this make sense? So I can see, Monica, you've shared sometimes we overreact to the situation. We think it is much more bigger as it is. Yes, indeed, it does happen with all of us. And we might be right in that situation and thinking that ways because that's just how our emotions are playing at that moment for us. So, which is why Stephen Covey says that if we start focusing on what is in our influence. So, let's see this for now. This talks about reactive versus proactive behavior, right? So, the circle that he's defined here is the circle of concern. Okay, so there are a lot of concerns that we have. The economy is not doing well, there are layoffs happening, somebody is losing their job there. We're also thinking about what other people might think of us. There could be a natural disaster like when COVID-19 happened. It shook all of us up, right? So there are a lot of concerns that impact us. It could be health, it could be income, right? And then we have an inner circle, which is about what you do, what you eat, where you live, what you read, which is something that's in your control, right? So there's a circle of concern that we have, and within that circle of concern, the things that impact us, that bother us, that you want to do something about, we have a circle of things which we can control. What we do in a moment, for example, what we eat, what we wear, where we go, who we talk to. And then he says a lot of time of reactive people and energy is wasted reacting to issues that you cannot control. So that impacts us. So we try controlling that. However, that's not in our control. And then proactive people, what they do is they minimize their circle of concern. You can see there these blue borders and the white borders. So on the left side where we have the reactive people, there's a larger circle of concern and a smaller circle of control. However, on the right side where we have proactive people, they increase their circle of control, right? So a lot of their energy is focused on the circle of control. Like, what is my attitude, the places I travel, the skills I learn, the work I do, the people I talk to. So whatever is in our control, we can work on that and increase that circle. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Any questions around here from anybody? So it's about an approach that we take. Can we take the lead and be proactive and take charge of things that we can impact? Right? Vis-a-vis being bothered by what might be happening. Right? So he's actually defined 3 circles. As you can see, the biggest circle is that of the concern. You know, there might be a lot of things that we have on our plate that we would like to cater to. However, not everything can be taken care of by us. Not everything can have a solution, or we might not be able to influence it. So within that circle of concern, there is a circle of influence. So what he means by circle of influence is those things that we might be able to influence by doing something, by talking to someone. We might have certain, you know, responsibility around it, certain control over it, that we can influence it. So I can see Omaran's asked, what is the extent we can go by being proactive, even when we almost always face things we can't control on a daily basis? That's an excellent question. Thank you so much, Omaran. So that's what these circles talk about. That, as you can see, the concern circle is bigger. So we cannot control everything that we might be concerned about. The circle of control is the smallest. There are things that we can control that is more related to us. I can control what time I'm waking up today. I can control how punctual I'm going to be for my office today. I can control the attitude that I carry at the moment. I can control how I react to situations, right? And then there are things that we can influence. We can convince certain people. We can convince our boss to understand that this happened because of this reason, and he might get convinced or she might get convinced, right? So there's still things that we can influence. There might be people we can make understand. There might be resources we could use to achieve something. So there's still things that we can influence on a daily basis. And then the circle of concern is something that the concerns are too many. It rained and my flight got cancelled. I had a meeting to reach for. And that's a serious concern for me. And whether I'm proactive or not in that situation, my proactiveness will only work till me having another flight to catch. So I can maybe influence the staff to get me another ticket and to get me on the next flight that's gonna fly off. But the circle of concern about that flight getting cancelled in the moment, I cannot get that flight to fly. Right? And then the influence could also be around being able to communicate to the right people about the delay and when you will be reaching. Does that make sense? So I can see Monica's asking what are the reactive and proactive skills. So we're going to get to that as well. But first, let's identify these circles for ourselves. So I would actually invite you to just free flow, and make a circle for yourself. What would be those things that you're really concerned about? And what are those things that you can control? So you can make two circles at the moment, right? And just let it free flow. So I'm giving you 2 minutes for it. Just let everything just come out. So, have you been able to pen down certain things? Okay, I got a yep from Lucas. Thank you, Lucas. So, just giving you this time for reflection, I happen to reflect on something that happened with me during the daytime today. I was supposed to reach my son's school at 9:50 a.m. It's a 15-minute way, including parking and reaching inside. So, I had a new driver who came today, and I thought, okay, let me just take him with me. We left at 9:30. There happened to be a lot of unexpected traffic. And because the driver did not know the school and I did not pay attention, he happened to cross the school and the red light after that and move ahead. And I was stumped. I said, "What just happened?" I already got late because of traffic, even though I left on time, and now I'm late. And he went quite ahead, and that's a one-way road. So I had to really move around, and it was another 5-10 minutes for me to get back. So I actually, like one of my family members' house was right there. So I happened to drop him there and I said, okay, let me just take the car because I was like, if I explain him that one way route and I come back, it's just going to take longer. I've, anyways, missed the thing that I had to go for. It was a 30-minute interaction for which I had to go. And I was already at like 15-20 minutes crossed. I quickly took the car, went through that one-way road back and reached the school. And I had the last 5 minutes. So I didn't want to interrupt the, interaction happening, and went in the last 5 minutes when I could have a one-on-one interaction. And just, thinking about it right now, I could actually connect it here. So it was a concern for me that I got late. It was not in my hand. I could not control it. But I did somewhere make the most of the time that I could, is what I just realized. What do you think? So, a lot of times things happen with us which are really not in our control, and we get late because of certain reason. But how we're maximizing that time or the work around that, what we would like to achieve. So once we've written that, can we identify everything into these three circles now? Out of all the concerns, knowing the control as well, what is in our control and what is it not in our control, what is it that we can influence out of that? We could still have a role to play there. So I'm going to give you a minute to think about it and reflect on it, and also pen it down for yourselves. All right, so have you been able to identify further? What is it that we can influence out of this?
I think we can influence this situation with our attitude mostly.
Influence the situation with our attitude, definitely.
Because, for example, if we are staying goal-oriented, not important what is coming in our way, a small or a big thing, but our attitude, like a goal-oriented perspective, could help us a lot.
Absolutely. And Stephen Covey talks about these two attitudes to have. You know, where is your focus? Where is your attitude lying? Is it a reactive focus, a reactive attitude, or a proactive attitude? So you want to achieve something and it's out of your control and you're not able to get there yet. So what is it that you could still do which is in your control or in your circle of influence? You know, it's not always possible that we are able to solve that concern that we might have, right? So Lucas says, I have influence over what I do have on my resume. How do I present myself on it and my picture, for example? That's an interesting question, Lucas. So I would actually like to ask you a coaching question here, right? So I hear you have a resume and you're looking for a job, and you also shared that as of now you've not been able to get there, right? So what other options do you have in front of you? I can continue studying, and I'm doing so at the moment. All right, that's wonderful. And what about that next step that you wish to take? So, you've been looking for a job on management or team coordinations, like you said, but the interviews haven't come yet. And you're continuing to study. What is that next step that you would like to take? Like, what would be the avenues in front of you? I'm now setting my study goal to get project management skills so I can apply to jobs on my country that are related. There's no Scrum Master opening on my city or province. All right. So I can see that you setting your study goal to get project management skills. So that's why you are being proactive and taking that charge, knowing that there are no openings available here. So your concern might be to get those Scrum Master opening. However, that's not in your control. Is that correct? Which is wonderful. Which is wonderful. and you'll continue to find your path. It's the attitude which makes all the difference, and how you get there. It could take some time, which is how we can prioritize our circles, our goals, and see where we can do what we can do. So, a circle of concern encompasses the wide range of concerns we have, such as our health, our children, problems at work, the economy, threat of war. When we talk about problems at work, the growth aspect, what all we want to achieve, vis-a-vis where we are right now, right? A circle of control encompasses those concerns that are definitely in your control. So, for example, like you shared, Lucas, that you already started studying on project management because that's something that you know there is scope, right? So, that's something in your control and you are working on that, right? So, if we can actually start practicing this in our life and incorporate the attitude of being proactive instead of waiting for the circumstances or things to happen and take place, we can see a huge difference in what we achieve in our attitude, and we can also see our circle of influence expand and expand. Does that make sense? Now, a circle of influence encompasses those concerns that we can do something about. We do have some control over it, right? So, for example, in terms of your job, Lucas, having that here in front of us as an example, who are those people that you know already in this industry who could maybe enable you to get to the right place in your career? The more we have influence over, the more we can actually be proactive about. Absolutely, and it works both ways. The more proactive we are, the more we will be able to find the right influence. So it's about knowing that, okay, now this situation I can certainly not do anything about, but I still gotta move ahead. So, what is it that I can do in the moment? It's about making the most of what we have in front of us. What are those resources? What are those goals? The more proactive you are, the more you can influence and control. Absolutely, absolutely. Because then instead of, succumbing to the circumstances, we actually take charge and we make the most of what we can. Right? Like we say, when life offers you lemons, are you going to make a lemonade out of it, or are you going to let it rot? That might not be something that you want, but what is it that you can do with it and the most with it that aligns with your goal, right? So now we're going to do a small reflective exercise here. How do you manage your circles? So we've spoken about the circle of concern, the circle of influence, the circle of control. If you had to allocate percentage to each focus, how much would it be on each out of 100? And this is what it is currently. There is no idealistic answer, right? It's about us being more aware. We don't even have to share it if we don't wish to, right? So it's about us actually knowing where our focus is going more. So out of 100, if you have to allocate on circle of control, on circle of influence, on circle of concern, please do that for yourself authentically. because that's how we'll move ahead to the idealistic once we have absolute clarity about where we are. So having allocated the score from 100 in these three circles, where would you wish for this percentage allocation to be? So whatever you gave for the current situation, what is that future state where you wish to be in terms of your focus in percentage? And Amarin, this is exactly what, this slide's also talking about, that positive energy enlarges the circle of influence, proactive focus enlarges the circle of influence. And a reactive focus or a negative energy would reduce that circle of influence. So thank you for sharing that, Amarin. So do we have both the current percentages and where we wish to be? Because having those figures in front of us, we would actually now like to understand the steps that you can actually take to reach there. So keeping your figures in mind, and I'm not asking anybody to share their figures, right? Keeping your figures in mind, the amount that you've allocated to the circle of concern, to where you wish to be on that circle of concern. What is it that you could do to get there, to reduce that percentage on circle of concern? So I'm only concerned about, and I would really invite you to share what's coming for you, what is getting present for you in terms of the steps that you can actually take to get from an X percentage to a Y percentage on it. So I can see Omran shared, be more focused on what you can control at the moment. So anything specific which is for you, which you could do in the moment. There could be something where your focus is higher on the concern part, the control being a certain amount, and you wish for that to change in a certain way. So what comes to your mind as that step that you could take in the present to reach there? To always remember that I have no control over my concern. Well said. So, in your present environment, what can you still focus your energy on more to increase your circle of influence? Just think over it, just mull over it. And if there's something that surfaces for you, please do feel free to share. So, a bigger circle of concern, the reactive focus, says that you focus the majority of your time and energy on your concerns and problems. You neglect the issues within your control, because of which your circle of influence shrinks. And when we change that focus, we redirect our time and energy. You begin focusing on those things within your control, and that's when you start to make a difference. And with that, your circle of influence increases. You get to a proactive focus. You devote majority of your time and energy changing what is in your control. Your influence expands and life improves. You start living a life of purpose. So, what is it that you can still focus your energy on more? What shift might you require in your approach? I can see some chat messages. So, could it be, for example, if my resumes aren't seen, maybe contacting the people seeking to hire on LinkedIn or other platforms directly to show interest in the position? That's wonderful, Lucas. That's wonderful. That is a great example for it. The shift that you're making, instead of just waiting, but reaching out to people to get that call, to get connected directly. Okay, about my health, I discovered that of late I've not been exercising much and it's affecting me because I focus more on work than on my health. So I've decided to take steps in improving my health and also do my job. That's wonderful, Omarin. That's wonderful. We got to take charge of the things that we can influence, that really matter to us, that only we can control. Knowing you cannot do anything about the concerns which are out of your circle of influence, what would you like to prioritize now? Now, that's the question that I'm inviting all of you to answer. To just close your eyes and reflect and think. Lovely, Omarin, mental well being. That's the one thing that you would like to prioritize on. And mental well being is actually one of the most important things for all of us as humans. Prioritize those that I have control over, like my happiness. That's amazing to hear, Jacqueline. I've decided to eat a balanced diet food and think positive rather than focusing on negativity. Wow. I'm so excited to read all the responses that I'm getting right now. Now, this is that shift. The areas that we've decided to prioritize on now. Now, we gotta take charge of those areas. We gotta be proactive in our areas and focus on what we can control. My focus point in one question: what can I learn from this or that situation? Monica, could you clarify your question a little more here? What can I learn from this or that situation? Would it be possible for you to unmute yourself and clarify the question for me, Monica? Or you could type in the chat box because my apologies, but I haven't been able to understand your question correctly. What can I learn from this or that situation? Monica? For example, something happens what I can't control, but most of the time, there's always one thing that I can learn from that, and it helps develop myself further. Absolutely. So that's a wonderful sharing, Monica, that there's something that I always learn from such situations. But what would be your question here, Monica? I would be happy to answer any question if you have. The fact of the matter is that not everything is in our control, right? There are things that we want to achieve. There are things that we wish could happen. There are things that we aspire for, right? But we can still get there. We can. It might not be in our control yet, but there could be a path for us to get there. So, what is it that we could do in the moment? What is it that we can learn from it in the moment and move forward? That doesn't mean we have to discard our goal. That means that we got to be more proactive and understand from where we're operating and what is it that we can do at the moment. What is really possible? So the difference here is about being realistic and making things happen. So before we close, I'm going to have a question for all of you. which is, what is that step that you would realistically like to take now and commit to take, keeping your focus in mind. And be as specific as possible when you define that next step that you're going to take. For that area that you've prioritized for yourself in your life, what's that first step that you would take immediately and you would like to commit to here? So Rebecca, if you could be specific about that thing that you can handle, focusing on things that I can handle. So what is it that you would like to prioritize now and do something about? Broaden my horizons. Again, Monica, I'm going to invite you to be more specific. When you say broaden your horizon, which all horizons are you referring to? If you could define them for yourselves and say, what would you do to broaden that horizon? So I can see broaden the horizon can be a goal for you. And towards that, what is it that you're going to do? So like I said, I will prioritize my happiness. First thing I need to know is, what will I need to be happy? Interesting, Jacqueline. And how would you like to know that and identify that? I can learn new things and skills. Wonderful, Monica. So if you could even define those things and skills that you would like to learn. So let's be as specific as possible to really commit to something and take it forward. So anyone wants to be as specific right now, you could put my energy into what brings positive influences to me by changing my attitude towards the thing I can control. And what could some of those positive influences be, Omarin? Being as specific as possible by looking at what makes me happy. For instance, taking a trip and trying new foods. Wonderful. I see more specific answers coming now. So if you have to be more specific, Jacqueline, what trip would you like to take, or which new food would you like to try? So I'm loving the conversations. I'm loving the output of responses. It's amazing to see that. I keep learning and growing my skills to get better qualified for the jobs I want to apply for. Wonderful, Lucas. By looking at creating a joyful environment for myself so that I can attract happiness. Rebecca, so how would you like to create that joyful environment for yourself? Let's deep dive further and be as specific as possible into what is it that I would like to do now. For example, I would like to learn more about HR in order to find a job to the new country I've moved to. Wonderful, 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 Monica. That's how specific we have to be. First, prioritize my well-being. What would you like to do to prioritize your well-being, Omrin? A trip to Victoria Falls and trying Chinese food. Yay! Learn new skills that helps me to be proactive. All right, Amaran. And what if you find out that that's already inside you? Exercise more, engage positive people on a daily basis. Now we're getting specific. It's wonderful to see those responses. Thank you so much, everybody. Any questions you have for me now? Eat good food. You know, it's actually true. When you eat good food and you satisfy your cravings, you're actually more relaxed mentally. It's like a food coma moment. All right, over to you, Mariana. Okay, last response. Creating a joyful environment for myself so that I can attract happiness by meeting positive people around me, learning new skills, having enough sleep. Lovely. Another important aspect for our well being is our sleep. Thank you, everybody, for being a wonderful audience. Over to you, Mariana.
Thank you, Sonam. Thank you so much for guiding us through the art of prioritization with both the sessions. Your guidings were very invaluable to us. Thank you.
So much.
I would also like to thank you all from the audience for joining us today. We appreciate your time and participation, and we hope that you found today's session very informative and engaging. You will all receive a feedback form link in the chat box. Would request to share your feedback. So what do we have next? We have an upcoming India community event scheduled on April 15th. Join us for an exclusive coffee meet for HR professionals in Agile to network, share knowledge, and explore Agile People Ops' transformative power over rich conversations and fresh coffee. To register for this event, kindly scan the QR code below or join using the link shared in the chat box. Alternatively, you all can join our APO Global Community LinkedIn group to get further updates on upcoming events. Kindly scan the QR code below or join using the link shared in the chat box. Additionally, we also have a community platform to collaborate and engage with other passionate individuals. You can all join using the link shared in the chat box. We will share the recording of this session with all the participants who have registered and also upload it to our Agile People Ops YouTube channel. Thank you all once again. Have a wonderful day ahead. With lots of gratitude, I am Mariana, your host, will be signing off for today.